Hi everyone, it is Samantha again here on Embracing the Divine Feminine, and I'm so happy to be here today. Excuse me, I've wanted to get on here a couple times, but when my house gets busy here, I usually have to wait, so kind of pushes my messages out. But anyway, I wanted to come back in here about when the nest empties, the she rises. Okay, there's so many things involved in this, and what I will start doing moving forward is breaking things apart into little segments. But today I wanted to come in because there's so many things encompassed in this being a mom and a wife, and putting ourselves last. We have a tendency to do that because, if you're a caretaker and, a helper, which I've always been a helper, I've always wanted to take care of people. I love taking care of people. That's why I was a healthcare worker. And I work in natural health because I love health and I naturally want everything to run smoothly, everyone to be healthy, everyone to be mentally healthy, all of these things. But it doesn't always work out the way you expect. So, when all of those things are going on and you are trying to help others with their problems, because if you have children, of course you need to sit with them and help them understand their emotions. That is truly like the number one thing, I think, as parents. But that's a whole different segment. Right now we're talking about us as the divine feminine and how sometimes we can get lost within that life until everyone is grown and ready to do their own thing. And that is when it's time to exploring what you truly want. Okay, we are at this point beyond our story. Okay, everybody has a story. When you go and you meet somebody, you tell them your story, right? Say if you met a new boyfriend or something, that's what you do, is you're telling each other your stories, in those long nights where you stay up all night and you talk all night. It's about learning your stories. Okay, so what is your story at this point? Who are you? And those can be tough questions, because when you've spent your whole life taking care of everyone else and now it's time to take care of yourself, those can be difficult questions. So that's actually a challenge I'm throwing out there to you, is who are you? Who are you right now? What are you standing for? Are you happy where you're at? Are you fulfilled where you're at? Do you feel like something's missing? What does that look like? You know, this, I come from a place of being in a relationship. I love being in a relationship. I loved being married. It was wonderful. That is the place I like to be in. I feel like I function best when I am with a partner that, of course, is trustworthy in all of this, but not just outwardly trustworthy, but where you feel like you can truly be yourself, and that it's okay to speak up and say, hey, these are the things that I would like in my relationship. And does it mean it's always going to turn out great? Like, just because you want something in your relationship and you state it, do you think that that's going to happen? Not necessarily, right? Because there's someone else involved. Okay. So I think the biggest thing here to begin with is to start journaling and asking yourself some of those questions. If I'm not fulfilled, what would fulfill me? Okay? And this doesn't mean blowing up your life. This is just reflection right now, right? If you are with your partner and you see things the same way, it's okay to explore and find yourself when everyone's grown and everyone's taken care of. It is your time, okay? The divine feminine is huge, 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 huge within the family unit. We all know if the divine feminine wasn't there, how different that looks, okay? Look at how much you pour into your family by making a house a home, by cooking a meal to nourish your family, okay? Being a divine feminine comes with a lot of responsibility, okay? We can shift things in the room, in the home, by standing in our power, okay? And I understand that sometimes not every relationship is safe, okay? I'm not talking about if somebody feels unsafe to share these things, then you need to go a different route, okay? Because I'm not talking about an abusive relationship right here. I am talking about just a standard relationship where you feel safe to share your thoughts, okay? Now, in the more difficult ones, there is help out there, okay? And if you needed help, of course, we would help you find help, okay? But we're talking about just people that are in relationships, long-term relationships, married relationships. That's what I focus more on because that is where I have the experience, okay? Committed relationships. And I have found so many great things in committed relationships. You can feel safe and safe to express yourself creatively, sexually, relationally. I mean, there's so many great things that can come. But you know what can also come is separation, where you just start to grow apart. What happens if you have different interests, right? Like I talked about before, men typically have hobbies. And even when we get together as, a young relationship, boys and men typically have hobbies. They hunt, they fish, they like cars, they like motorcycles, they like this, they like that. But women and young girls, at least from what I have seen and what I know, and I have a lot of friends and I know a lot of women, that typically their hobbies, they don't really have hobbies, maybe within the home, but it typically does not take them away from the home or too much from upsetting the internal flow. Okay. And I know that's not everyone, because there might be people that come into their relationships a little bit stronger. Okay. But me personally, I did not come into my relationship strong and knowing that even if I had desires, that those were possible to achieve, honestly, because I was just trying to survive, right? And in these good relationships, like when you haven't dealt with your trauma and things, are you dealing authentically within your relationship, right? Because there's triggers, there's shadows, there's all of these things that can create problems, I guess is the biggest word, right? But those are the old stories, okay? So we don't need to consider our old story. We're talking about right here, right now. What do you want in your life? Do you want more travel? Would you like to grow yourself spiritually? Would you like, just to have some friends outside of the house that you can go have a cup of coffee with? Play cards. Do you like to play cards? Do you like to do crafts? Do you like to write? Do you like to play music? Do you like poetry? What do you like to do? Some of these things don't take you out of your home. Some of these things you can do in the surrounding of your home that fulfill you greatly, right? Sometimes if you are really good at baking sourdough bread and you would like to branch out and have a little side business, that's possible. Okay? What I want to stress right now is the importance of the divine feminine standing in your power. So, what does that look like? That looks like digging deep, understanding that none of us are victims. Okay? Sure, bad things happen to everyone, and we have to course correct, and adjust and say, what is this telling me? Even if you are so broken, if you've lost loved ones that just broke you, I get it. You know, if you've lost relationships, children, it can be just heart-wrenching, this world and this life. But you have a choice to keep moving forward and bringing your authentic self forward to be the best you can be for yourself, for one, and the world. Because if you have divine gifts that you want to share and you're feeling like they've kind of been hidden, that you haven't been able to share them, then it's time to start exploring that. Okay? Journaling is, excuse me, is a great place to start. And I always like to write about if money wasn't a consideration, what would I do? What would I do? Would everything around me look the same, or would it look different? And what would it look like? Would it be travel and travel with your partner? Or, do you want a travel trailer and you want to travel? Or, do you like exotic exploration? Or are you rock climbers? What's your thing? What do you want to do? Do you like to ride bikes? So what is next for you? Is it creative? Is it, would you like to spice it up in the bedroom? How's your sex life? That affects things greatly. And people, think that it is not a big deal. People are not comfortable talking about their sexual relationship, even with their partner. And that seems crazy to me. They would rather go talk to their friends or even other, whatever, women, men, the opposite sex, whatever. And I understand sometimes it's hard to talk to your partner, but always it's best to come back to them and to talk to them, because some people are so afraid to have that conversation that they would blow up their entire marriage over it, instead of having a conversation, a difficult conversation. So, there's many things that you can do that can help you find answers. So one is counseling. Counseling is a wonderful thing. And maybe you don't really need it. Maybe you'll go there and you find out, I went to counseling when I felt like I was completely losing my mind, and come to find out they're like, no, you're okay. Like, yeah, you could work on yourself, stand in your power, but what I was finding was being thrown at me, was throwing me into a spiral. But at least I was willing enough to say, what am I contributing to the problem? Am I contributing to this problem? Okay? So it really starts small. It really starts small, and it starts within. If you're wanting more and you don't feel like you have what you need within your life, what does that look like? What is it? What do you feel like is missing? We'll start there. What do you feel like is missing? Do you feel like you're being authentic? Do you feel like you can share what you truly want and need to be happy? Okay? A lot of times it's not going to come from outside of us. We can make ourselves happy. We don't necessarily need things from other people to do that. Yes, would we love to have our partner do a certain thing? Yeah, sure. I would love a date night every Friday or every weekend. Does it happen? No. Okay. But I also understand that things come up and I have to be reasonable. And also, what happens if it's only important to me? Right? Just because it is important to me doesn't mean it's always important to my partner. Okay? And that was a hard one to swallow for me. But I also understand and I also look around and say, well, there are other great things going on in my life. Do I need to focus on that one? Can I take myself out? I absolutely can. Can I go out with my kids? I sure can. A girlfriend? Friends? Yes. Is it the same? No. And I also understand that. So, we can really get into the minutia here. And, but what I do want you to know is that I'm starting with now all of these clips or whatever, these YouTube videos that will slowly walk you through these things on how I've learned to overcome some of these things and to bring such a divine connection within my relationship. But believe me, it was not easy and it took me time. It took reflection. It took the hard conversations. And, there are still things that are not perfect, and that's the way it's going to be. That's the way it goes because nobody is perfect. But it's time to come back to you, go within, and ask yourself, what do I truly want? Where have I been feeling like things are missing? We'll talk about later what we can do about it, but also, I want you to think about your story. What is your story? Do you relate with that anymore? Because I don't. I sure don't relate to the 16-year-old version of me, the 30-year-old version of me. No, I resonate with this version of me. Okay? The one that has overcome all of that. I've gone through the dark night of the soul. I've crawled through the mud in the dark because I wanted more. I wasn't willing to squelch my desires and my passions. I won't do it. I will not do it. Okay? So how do you go about moving forward from there? Well, it takes a strong masculine to be able to handle it. But you can grow together and you can become that strong, have that strong bond and that strong relationship to keep moving you forward. And it's actually very interesting and very intriguing to move into more of a divine relationship because there's so much respect within. Like I respect the divine masculine and he respects the divine feminine within me. Understanding now the power that I bring to the home. Okay? I make this house a home. This house would not feel the same without me here. It would not be the same without, the lovely foods that I cook when people walk in the door and smell that. The lovely decorations that you put out for the holidays, the traditions that you've created. Okay, I understand it's not all the feminine doing this, but we truly are the backbone of the family. Okay, you can look at that either way because the masculine is as well. Okay, but we keep things rolling. Okay, and things would look way different if we're not here. So how can we be the best version of us for our family without giving up on ourselves. That's my challenge to you. So I'm going to leave it there. I'm so happy that I got to talk to you today, you guys. I sometimes have to wait longer than I want to come in here. And this is going to get fun. Okay, we're going to, moving forward, I am going to be putting some exercises out there. We'll have some get-togethers as this grows, but I am challenging you to look within yourself and find what you truly want. Are you where you want to be within your relationship? Okay, and I'm not talking about just blowing things up, doesn't have to be that. But there are people here for you to talk to, okay? Counselors are good, coaches are good. I am an integrative nutrition health coach and I can help you, okay? Just follow me. There's more things to come, okay? Thank you guys. I love you. I'll check in later. Bye.